And then because I used to do that, I used to kill myself and say, at the last few days, be like, you know what, I'm not going to turn this in because clearly I'm taking too long. Clearly I'm trying to do this at a level too high to the point where I'm not going to be able to write this thing down. And then I used to think less of myself. And things just like that, in day-to-day life, I used to beat myself up and my confidence used to go down. But because I started to understand, first for me it was the DISC assessment, and then it was the Four Tendencies. I'm starting to understand who I am. Hello and welcome to the 2D podcast. I am your host, Adonis Barrera, and I am joined by the lovely and sensational Iana Giselle Backlit Alhambra.
Hey everybody.
How you doing today, Giggly?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty well, and as you can see, for those of you in YouTube land, we are rocking our Myrtle Beach attire. Yeah, we came over here for a nice vacation.
Yes.
And we're only going to be here for a few days, but man, talk about the beach.
Oh my goodness. We're usually used to Ocean City or Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
And we both haven't been. Well, is this your first time actually going to Myrtle Beach?
This is my very first time.
Nice. The last time I was here, I was like 17, like late teens. I'll say that.
Okay.
And now this is like 10 years later or so, and I completely forgot how beautiful it was. Like the temperature of the water, the pressure of the waves and everything like that, and even the sand, like the softness of the sand and like how fine it is, and the color and everything is just like so beautiful. Like
it's a whole different experience.
Oh yeah,
man,
definitely.
The temperature of the water is immaculate.
Yes, exactly.
I couldn't believe how warm it was, and then we went last night to just go in the water for the first time here at Myrtle Beach, because the day before we went to your parents over at Virginia Beach.
Yeah,
the water was cold, right? But it wasn't numbingly cold.
It was nice cold because it was so hot,
right?
So you still enjoyed
100%.
The coldness.
I mean,
you
still had to get used to it though.
Yeah.
But over here,
you just step right in and like keep going.
I couldn't believe how warm it was. It was immaculate.
Even at like 8 p.m. or whatever time we put our feet in, I was like, this is nuts. Like, what's happening?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, before we get started, I would love to introduce to you guys a new guest to the podcast. He's not new to our lives. He's near and dear to Yana's heart. And I'm a competitor against them. But ladies and gentlemen, this is Rex.
He's a little thickums.
He's a little plush dinosaur that...
he's a T-Rex, hence Rex.
Exactly, that I bought Yana just because.
I love it.
On a random day, and she's loved that ever since. He goes with her everywhere.
Everywhere. I just keep him either in my car or in my bag.
Exactly.
He's a trooper.
Okay. This is the only time he's ever going to be on the podcast.
Sneak.
We'll see. But anyways, I'd love to get started with our segment of Rate the Date. Why don't you tell us where we went last night, Iana?
So we got here probably early afternoon last night, and then we went to dinner at River City Cafe on 21st Street. That place was amazing. It literally looks like your local like burger shack. And it had like, the vibe was like serious. So when I say a shack, I literally mean like wood panels all across, all the way around.
Yeah.
There's outdoor dining with like a patio and like 2 layers of a patio seating. And then the inside, there's a whole bunch of like the first thing that you see are license plates everywhere
Mhm.
from people all around. Like, it's funny because the table right next to us, there was a guy that shipped his license plate in years back. And
Yeah.
so when he finally came back, he said, "Oh my gosh, someone signed it."
Yeah.
So like you could write like either on the wood panels or the license plates or the stickers or whatever. And he was just so shocked that someone reached up to sign his license plate. And it was like literally like floor to ceiling, like stacks of license plates
It's
covering all over.
from all different states. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so dope. Okay, so that's like the license plates, the wood, and then there's like, have any of you gone to Logan's where you eat like peanuts and then you throw the shells on the
Bruh.
ground? That's the type of vibe, shack like.
Talk
Um,
about dirty. Good grief.
if you're not used to it, it's very alarming. But because I've gone to Logan's, I was like, okay, dope. It's one of these places that's like super shack and chill and like definitely like beach vibes, like come all sandy and everything like that. Like they'll be okay.
This is how much effort they actually put into the vibe. Like they
Yes.
put so much effort that when you walk in, you're pretty much bombarded with the lights and the license plates and
Mm-hmm.
just the whole way, the whole enchilada of how the place looks.
Yeah.
So I do not notice that these peanuts were on the floor. So
You
when we
really
sit
couldn't.
down and we're waiting for the food, after I've ordered my food and I'm shifting my feet and I notice this lump on the ground. I'm like, what
Under
the?
his foot.
I was like, what the heck is this? And it's a whole bunch of broken up peanuts. And I'm like, who left this mess right here? And then I'm looking around the floor and I'm like, what the
They're
heck?
everywhere.
They're
Like the floor is covered with peanut shells.
I'm like, bruh, what in tarnation?
Yeah. When he first saw it, he was
I was like, bruh, where on earth is your cleaning crew?
love it.
Bruh,
Yeah.
it was crazy. But then, yeah, Yana explained to me that that's the
It's a
culture
thing.
in
Yeah.
some restaurants.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Yes.
you just do whatever then. But
Mhm.
anyways, besides that, the food, man.
Top notch. Like
Yeah.
great choice. What did you have?
I had I was feeling, um, you guys are gonna make fun of me, but I used to make fun of people that loved pineapple on pizza. I said that does not belong on pizza. What is wrong with y'all? What has the world come to? But ever since I've tried it, man, I can't get over it. Pepperoni pizza and Hawaiian pizza are my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I got him over to this side, guys.
I was I was so into it that when she was looking up the menu on her phone before getting there, I saw they had this big island burger. And would you
Mm.
believe that they have a pineapple ring inside of the burger?
Oh, yes.
And my crazy butt was like, man, that sounds so good.
With the teriyaki sauce.
Oh,
Oh, yes. You can't
oh,
forget that part.
man, that was fire.
Super.
Super hot fire. I mean, uh, the way they made it was just immaculate, bro. It was
Mhm.
immaculate. Then the fries,
Yeah.
the coleslaw.
And your ice cold Coke.
Oh, man, it was perfection. The boys on my soccer team are gonna be disappointed in that selection,
Sorry, guys.
but it's so good.
I told Adonis already that after this trip, I'm not going to eat anymore.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. After this, you can't. I mean, but
Yeah.
it was divine. It was up there amongst the best that I've had in terms of burgers. But
Woohoo!
what did you have, Yana?
I had the surf and turf, and basically they put like breaded shrimp with a spicy sweet glaze on top with like lettuce and tomato, and then the burger on like a brioche bun toasted nicely and deliciously. And then on the side, I substituted the fries for their world famous onion rings.
Yeah.
And not gonna lie, they literally gave me two onion rings and they were like this big each.
They're like a donut size.
Yes, insane. And I was like, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it was gonna be enough. And I was like, just two? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
But when I was dipping it into their petal sauce or something like that, oh my goodness. Every single bite was amazing.
Yeah.
With my surf and turf.
Surf and turf, yeah.
Oh my gosh, so good.
Yeah.
Like the shrimp with the meat, everything.
It was just excellent. They prepared that so well.
Yeah,
even the
they
ranch,
knew what they were doing.
Even the ranch that they gave, because it was
it's
subtle.
house made.
It was subtle.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't overbearing,
Mm-hmm.
and it just gave it that flair.
Yes. So I would rate that date.
Mm-hmm.
No lie, I think I would rate it a solid 9, like 9.2, because it was just so good.
Yeah.
And like, even the customer service was like really nice. I think the like points get like a little bit deducted only because we really wanted some refills and it took a brick, but they were so busy because there were so many families going on. So we were just like, it's okay. Like, we'll be patient.
Yeah. And it wasn't so much that it was busy, but our waiter had to deal with tables outside too. I think they did that pretty poorly.
Yeah.
They should just
zone them.
Yeah, and I get it because it was humid, right? So they want to give them a break by coming inside, but let him wait there for like an hour,
right?
And then switch off with somebody.
Yeah.
But man, I'm right with you. I'd legit give it a 9.5. A 9.5. That thing was so fire. I have to go back to DC and try Ghost Burger again and compare which one was better.
Yes.
Because this one was top tier.
I'm down.
Yeah. But that's going to do it for our segment of Rate the Date. But getting into the meat and potatoes of the podcast, we're going to be talking about the Four Tendencies. And we talked about it a little bit on the last podcast. And it's all about understanding how we move and, more importantly, why.
Mm-hmm.
And Iana brought up a fantastic point of mentioning that she understood that she was more inclined to help others and meet their expectations, but it was a little bit harder for her to satisfy her own needs, to meet her own expectations. And she understood that what helps her out a lot because of her tendencies, inclinations, if she gets an external accountability partner, then she'll be much more what is that word? Susceptible to meeting those expectations, to meeting her goals and tasks that she laid out for herself and to her accountability partner.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that being said, I want the people to understand what these tendencies are, where we got them from, and how we're going to implement them in our lives to help us push the boundaries of what we thought for ourselves.
Yes, so the book is called The Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. It says the indispensable personality profiles that reveal how to make your life better and other people's lives better too. And just because it explains all four, tendencies in the book, it's really beneficial to read all of them, not just your own, because then you can better understand the people around you and then be able to help other people better understand themselves too. We're not telling you to psychoanalyze anyone, but at the same time, if you understand why a colleague that you're working with has a different type of tendency and you're getting like, okay, what's going on? Like, why are we not meshing well together? Like, try to understand, like, okay, maybe this person has a different tendency than I do, and how can I better help them get through whatever portion of the project that they need to get through. Um, and
Yeah, it's so
yeah,
true
so just
because
like working with other people.
exactly because it's so easy to assume that okay, me and Yana have the project, the goal
Hmm.
of completing these podcasts week in and week out.
Right.
But the way we go about just being on the podcast, recording it,
Hmm.
could be totally different. And we could get frustrated with each other.
Hmm.
But just because you have the same goal as someone, just because you have the same background as someone, maybe even the same, personalities, your tendencies and the way you operate in things is going to be totally different. And if you don't
Right.
understand that, you're always going to be asking yourself, like, why are people treating me a certain way?
Hmm.
Why are they doing this? Don't they know that that makes me feel like this? Or even worse is when you don't make yourself happy, when you don't do the things that you said you wanted to do, and you
Right.
just think less of yourself
Hmm.
because you just put it up to you being lazy or you not being sufficient. When in reality, you have certain ticks, certain triggers that could either help you or break you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you put that so well. So to break it down a little bit more, um, there's the upholder who meets outer expectations and meets their own inner expectations, which is Adonis. So he's going to explain a little bit more about that. And then the obliger is what they do is myself. They meet outer expectations and resist inner expectations. And then the other two is the questioner who resists outer expectations but meets inner expectations. And then the rebel resists both outer and inner expectations. So you're probably wondering, like, how in the world are they going to like get anything done? Well, this book will help further explain, like, okay, what are the motivational tools? What are the strengths of a rebel? What are the weaknesses of the rebel, and how do you get them to buy into um whatever cause that they need to get into, whether it's cleaning their room or helping with dishes or anything like that.
Right,
So
exactly.
yeah. Do you want to further explain about like your upholder?
Yeah, so the upholder, meaning we meet inner expectations. So whenever we have a goal or task, we're inclined to put hands on it already without having an accountability partner or
Right.
without someone having to tell us to do it to begin with.
Yeah, like no nagging.
No nagging, no none of that. If anything, that puts me off.
Hmm.
But then, and that's a little bit of the rebel inside of me.
Yes.
But with outer expectations, I'm also more than willing to meet those because I don't want to let people down. I always feel the sense of being reliable and helping people when they need it the most.
Hmm.
That also comes down to a different assessment, the DISC assessment.
Yeah.
And there's certain categories, but so we don't expand too much on just one podcast episode.
Hmm.
I would be an S, which is
A grounds
a
crew.
grounds crew. And so what we do is,
Grounds crew and the flight assessment. So there's a disc assessment and a flight assessment.
Mhm.
And go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh no, no, for sure. And then the disc assessment. So I'm an S, which is grounds crew, which is stabilizing, right?
Stabilizing. Yes. Hmm.
Uh-huh. Stabilizing. So I'm predictable. I'm more methodical. I'm more uh, systems oriented. That's a little bit of the C too. But what all that means is that I am wired to do things in a specific manner. If things are
Hmm.
popping off, I like to stabilize the situation so we can address it, all together.
Yes.
And so understanding both of those, my personality type and my tendency, it
Hmm.
helps me understand that, yo, I'm predictable, meaning I'm not urgent, meaning I'm not good at pushing myself extremely hard at a fast pace to get things done.
You're very methodical and you think things through.
And if I don't
Hmm.
understand that, then I'm like, Adonis, why am I taking so long to complete this
Yes.
project? Or why am I taking so long to get started? But the thing is, when I finally get started, I'm moving. I'm moving every day. I have already categorized what I'm going to do each day. Okay, on the podcast for the podcast on Sunday or around then, we are going to record.
Mm-hmm.
And then the day after, I'm going to edit, if not complete the edit. And then the days remaining, I'm going to edit the reels that are going to go into this thing. And I'm going to schedule the podcast so it comes out without me having to uh, wait for a certain time to post. And all that goes in my head because I take my time before I just throw everything together. And I'm not saying that's a bad way to do it. Sometimes I don't want to say I envy those people, but I look up to those people that are so urgent, that want to move at a quicker pace, that want to just get things done. Because in all honesty, those are the people that see results the most, whether good or bad. But in my case, when I put something out, it's of quality. I'm not stressed out every single day because I don't have that urgency. And I see the bigger picture rather than the day to day tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that helps me so much is because in school, I used to think, like, man, I'm such a procrastinator. Like, man, I can't
Mm.
seem to get these projects done on time. And oh man, that would kill me because when I would put off a project like an essay or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
it would be because I'm taking too much time thinking about how I'm going to write this. I'm literally trying to write the whole essay before I write the essay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then because I
Yeah.
used to do that, I used to kill myself and say, at the last few days, be like, you know what, I'm not going to turn this in because clearly I'm taking too long. Clearly, I'm trying to do this at, at a level too high to the point where I'm not going to be able to write this thing down. And then I used to think less of myself. And
Mm-hmm.
things just like that, in day to day life, I used to beat myself up and my confidence used to go down.
Yeah.
But because I started to understand, first for me, it was the disc assessment, and then it was the four tendencies. I'm starting to understand who I am. And honestly, it helps me out so much because guess what? I schedule in time to be methodical.
Yes.
So for a certain period of time, I'm free. I allow myself to almost be a perfectionist. I allow myself to look at the bigger picture first rather than trying to already together a reel to put up on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I try to do that, I would literally say, what's the point? What is this going to lead to? But if I step back and look, okay, I need to grow my brand. I need to, in order to do that, I need to post reels. I need to do it at a consistent basis. So then the motivation for me and the structure is there. And that's what pushes me forward. But I
Yes.
never would have been there if I didn't understand who I was.
Yes. And I love that you, through this whole process of understanding your personality type and your tendency, you're accepting who you are
Oh, yeah.
and like allowing yourself to thrive in the authentic self, in your authentic self.
Yeah.
And like that is like what all of this growth and development and like what life is all about is really like honing in and finding who you are and then putting yourself in those situations where like you can thrive and allow yourself to just be your natural state.
Yeah.
Like that is so beautiful and I love that.
And you enjoy life so much more.
Yes,
You
and
know,
appreciate it.
and you no longer have to compare yourselves to other people. Like, oh man, you're looking on Instagram. This person's over here in Italy. This
Right.
person's in France.
You start
Man, this
comparing.
person's out here in Barcelona watching them play, and then it's like, why am I not there? What am I not doing? Why am I not wired like they're wired? I mean, then you just start living in your own life and start really enjoying who you are,
Yeah.
and then you start doing the things that you enjoy.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love it.
So what about your personality though, before we get too carried away?
That's okay. So my personality type in the disc assessment and the flight assessment is a C. which is cautious, and it is the air traffic control.
Yeah.
And my journey to find who I actually am, when I was growing up, the very first time I took like a personality type test, I was like, okay, I'm a D. I'm dominant and I'm very like the go-getter. Like I am driven and everything like that. Like
Yeah.
that is like hardcore D. That is the pilot. That is the driving force, everything. And then when I grew up into like high school, I was totally like the flight attendant. And like in my church group, I was like in, even at school actually, I was like in every single different like friend group, but I never like found my niche group. And I was like, okay, like I can fit into so many different groups. Like this is like pretty dope. But I can never think to put all of those groups all in one area. Like that was like that's not happening. I don't know what's happening right now, but
Right.
I'm happy to be able to fit into so many different groups. And I was like, okay, that's the flight attendant. That's the I, which is an extroverted, people oriented person where they like are just so people oriented and like hospitable and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then I grew up a little bit more and in college that's when I became very like the end of college and the beginning of like young adulthood. That's when I was like honing in on like the grounds crew where I was just like so hyper focused on just getting everything done and like putting in that work to be who I am and all that stuff and like really figure out like this developmental process and everything like that. But I was like, why on earth is it like so can I just like adapt and mold into so many different like personality types given like the situation or the time period or anything like that. And literally just like last week I had an aha moment and I was like, but I never understood like what the C was or what the air traffic control does or like whatever. And then it dawned on me that I'm actually a true C, which is the air traffic control, meaning I can oversee everything. And that is like in its prime, the air traffic control is a perfectionist. And that makes total sense. And I thought that was like the worst thing to be when I was growing up was like, you do not want to be a perfectionist.
Right.
Like, don't worry about being a perfectionist. It's okay.
I mean, that's what they tell you in school.
Yes. And it just had such like a negative connotation to it. So I was just like trying my hardest to stay away from being the perfectionist.
Yeah.
And then last week when I realized like, oh, I was able to fit in so many different groups. I was able to be the grounds crew when I needed to be the grounds crew and be the flight attendant when I needed to be the flight attendant and be like driven when I needed to be driven because I am the air traffic control. I really am to my core a leader and a supervisor, but I'm not a boss because I like to lead by example.
Right.
That is like hardcore to like myself.
Yeah.
That's when I thrive and I'm showing people the way, not just telling people what to do to get there.
Exactly.
Like I cannot stand that. And when I realized that I am a perfectionist, I had so much peace because I was like, it's okay to want things in order.
Yes.
And not judge it.
Right.
And going through like my whole coaching process and my whole therapy process and everything like that, I understand that not everything is going to be perfect, but for myself, when I am striving to be my best self, that is the level of perfection for me. And that's when I'm content, when I'm like, okay, I do thrive in having a peaceful physical space.
Yeah.
So it's okay to give myself that 15 minutes before I start work when I come in early to clean my desk and do the reset so that when I'm ready to sit down, I already know what's ready to go.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
what to work on in that
Exactly.
moment.
Yeah.
So that's like my personality type. And the tendency is I got through the test an obliger, but I think with me, because I question so many things, this is like unofficial, guys, unofficial, but I believe I'm like an obliger and a questioner because growing up, I was always questioning like myself in the sense of like, okay, I would always ask my sisters, like, okay, we're going to so and so's house. Should I wear this?
Yeah.
Is this okay to wear?
Yeah.
Like, just always constantly asking them their opinion, but of myself. And the questioner is actually, they meet their own expectations, but they resist outer
Yes.
expectations. And they are the ones that will not do anything unless it makes sense, which is why they have to question what authority or whatever is like telling them to do. So that's like the questioner. So like I'm kind of a mix of both. So the obliger meets other people's expectations, but does resist their own
Yeah.
expectations.
You almost question your own expectations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm somewhere in this like limbo state of like, okay, am I meeting myself or am I not?
And that's why it's so hard for you. And I'm just putting this together because you're such a perfectionist,
Yes.
you question your own expectations because then it's like, okay, but is this the perfect path to take?
Yes.
Is this X? And then it just like, it makes you into this, it makes you into this mess that you don't know what to do.
Like I'm a knot.
Yeah,
And I need to unravel it.
exactly. But then once you do figure out, okay, this is the next step, you take it with such precision.
Mm-hmm.
That's why to other people looking out, you're like up there. Like you're the person that they want on your team. You're the person that they want on their team. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're so good and you're so reliable and you do everything to perfection.
Mm-hmm.
But if they know you intimately, then they wonder. It's like, okay, but what's the holdup?
Yes.
Because she's so good. Her work ethic is amongst the best.
Mm-hmm.
Like her mentality, her emotional intelligence, they're all up there. So then what's the holdup? What's stopping her?
Yeah.
Why does she always come to me? I'm the one that's always coming to her.
Right,
Right?
right.
But it helps so much to understand that I'm a perfectionist, but I also have the tendency of not following through to my own expectations.
I love it.
So what do I need? Does that mean I'm just like a poor person? Like I can't get ahead? No, all that means is, okay, Adonis might not need a coach, but I'll need a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I'll need a therapist. I'll need a guide.
Yes.
But guess what? As soon as Iana gets those people on her team, bruh,
Those are key
oh my
players.
gosh, her pace, she will outdo me. She will outperform me in every aspect because her perfectionist is just through the roof, right? Like I said, I'm a grounds crew, right? Which means I'm, uh, what is that? Is that empathetic?
Empathetic.
Empathetic, predictable, patient, thoughtful, and reliable.
Yeah.
That's what the S is in the DISC assessment.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all good for my own being, right? But when it comes to like work ethic, it's not the same. Now I push myself, right? Especially like I said, once I know the methodology and the strategy, I'm hunting.
Strategy. That's key.
Like I said, I'm an upholder. Yes, I'm an upholder,
Yes.
which means I meet my inner expectations. Meaning that if I say that I'm going to run at my maximum capacity, I am going to run at my maximum capacity. But with Iana, she doesn't really need that. All she needs to know is that this is what I need to do, and she'll go above and beyond because of her perfectionist. And
Yes.
and as soon as you give her that coach, bruh, if that coach has that expectation for her, she'll bust through a wall to meet that.
Yes. like my, I think in high school and then in the other like types of jobs that I've had throughout, I've had more than like 8 jobs in like 10 years or so.
Yeah.
And in every area, there was either a teacher or a professor or my supervisor or a co shift supervisor that told me specifically and took the time to tell me, Iana, there's a dog in you. Like, you have that dog.
Mm.
Like, your work ethic is so top notch that we just can't wait to see where you're going to end up.
Right.
And that's talking about potential already. And I was like, oh, thank you. But in my head, I was like, that was me and my grounds crew working to the perfectionism.
Yeah.
And perfect example. When I worked at Lifetime, we had to vacuum the carpet of the treadmill area. And when I hear vacuum, I have to vacuum line by line, like every little area, not just like
Right.
like mindlessly going.
Yeah.
And one of the members saw me every single day how I would vacuum, and he was like, "You're such a perfectionist. Like, I've never seen anyone so diligently working on just vacuuming,
Right.
let alone all the other tasks that I had to do."
Right.
But I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, from 7:10 to 7:18, I have this amount of time to vacuum. So let me do this thoroughly and then keep going
Yeah.
on to the next one. Like,
Yeah.
that's to my core, like, perfectionism. And so when it was nice hearing one of the members say, "You're such a perfectionist. Like, thank you so much for cleaning. Like, I
Mm.
love coming to work out because I know how clean it is going to be, because
Right.
I know you're working here."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Dope. Like, I'm
Wow.
doing my job well."
That's crazy.
And like above and beyond, enough to the point where someone actually took the time to tell me.
Exactly.
And like, that's the type of level of like mentality that I was always striving for.
And it makes so much sense. Now that you read it and you see it, I mean, of course, you might be asking yourself, I'm not going to take these personality tests. I'm not going to take this, quiz or guide that's going to reveal certain aspects about me. Like, I know who I am and I know what I want. You knowing what you want doesn't indicate you knowing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Iana knew this about herself. She knew to some degree that she was a perfectionist. She knew to some degree that she could meet others' expectations, but for whatever reason, she couldn't meet her own.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Like, in hindsight, during that time, because I was working as like the facility operations, I literally thought I was grounds crew because of the type of job that I was hired for.
Mm.
But that, in hindsight, now that I know that I'm a perfectionist and like putting 2 and 2 together and everything like that, I see it. But what I'm trying to get our listeners to understand about the air traffic control is to personality type is to understand that whatever job or position that you have, whatever friend group that you're part of or anything like that, do it so well that you have integrity in the work ethic that you have that you are doing. I think when you do things to that level of expectation, whether it's from yourself or from someone else, that builds upon yourself. That builds on the confidence level for obligers, at least.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is like wild to say, but my confidence level was low too, because in my head, I didn't allow myself to see the high points and stay in the high
Right.
points,
Yeah.
because I would always bring myself down to like, okay, that was like great. Now what's the next thing that I need to do? Okay, that was great. What's the next thing that I need to do?
Right. Yeah.
And it was just like stairs. And it sounds like I'm not appreciative or anything like that, but I am entirely grateful for the life that I have and all the opportunities that I've been able and fortunate to be blessed in. But I do genuinely appreciate that side of me that like is never satisfied, because that makes me stay driven
Yeah, exactly.
and keeps me humble, and then it keeps me like hungry.
Yeah.
Like there's a common misconception that like, okay, girls are thirsty, da, 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 da. But like I was never thirsty. I was hungry. Like I
Mm.
need
Oh,
that's the dog in me that's like, okay, I need to keep going.
yeah.
Like I need another hit. Like that's what it
Right.
is.
So freaking funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're right. I mean, it pushes you to get the next one.
Mhm.
Of course, you don't want to overdo it to the point where you think less of yourself. Like, oh, that was
Right.
that one time. But if you use it, are able to use it in the correct manner,
Mhm.
right, you'll reach endless boundaries. You
Yes.
know, the sky's the limit, literally. And that's what we're saying. Like, take the time to understand who you are. Take the time to understand why you tick. If you don't want to take these personality tests, fine. Read books, understand other people to understand yourself. Look around you. You know, it's not just being introverted extrovert. That's like the very basic.
That's surface
That's
level.
the first level of
Mhm.
understanding where you lie. You know, I'm an introvert. I like to stick to myself, but like we said, you could be an introvert and still be very social. You could be an introvert and be demanding. You could be
Mhm.
introvert and be methodical. Of course, that's more obvious. You could be introvert and still be a perfectionist. But it really helps to understand all these different spectrums
Mhm.
so that you can give yourself the best tools to unlock new doors and new opportunities. If you stay the same, there's just going to be certain limitations you won't be able to uh, take hold of.
Yes. And I do want to touch, I'm sure we'll talk more about this in like the next episode or like in the future episodes. Um, but what the disc assessment tests,
Mm,
quote unquote, whatever, is the, are you an extrovert or are you an introvert? And then are you task oriented or are you people oriented?
mm,
And the reason why these are so crucial, on top of understanding your tendencies of whose expectations are you meeting and everything, is because, oh, okay, so it's like a grid. So the extroverts are going to be on the top of the grid, the introverts are on the bottom, and then on the, depending on which side you're looking at, on one side is going to be task oriented extrovert or task oriented introvert, and the
mm-hmm.
other one
Yeah,
is people oriented extrovert
yeah,
and people oriented introvert.
yeah.
So it's like, that sounds so weird, especially hearing like a people oriented introvert.
Right,
How does
right.
that make any sense at all?
Exactly.
Remember that an introvert is how you recharge,
Exactly.
not how you spend your time. Like
Right.
that's not, it's not dependent on that.
Exactly.
And so I recharge by myself,
Yes.
but that's how I'm an ambivert, is because depending on who I'm with, I could also recharge with them too. So
Right.
like my inner circle, I could recharge with my family all day,
Yeah.
but sometimes I know at some point I'm going to reach that point and that level of like, okay, I need to be by myself now.
Yeah.
And then the people oriented is, I am more driven by meeting other people's expectations. So that's like the upholder and obliger part.
Yeah.
But because I'm an introvert, now I understand like, okay, this tendency makes sense to have for this air traffic control.
Yeah.
And when you understand those components of who you are
Yeah.
and your tendency, that's when things start to click of like, okay, I am task oriented where I meet my own expectations if you're a
Yeah.
questioner,
Yeah.
and you can say like, okay, at this time, I'm going to schedule, like I said last episode, I'm going to schedule this time um, at this time. But I also need to take the time to be by myself so that I can put that energy into my schedule, just like what you said.
Right.
And when you understand all of those components and you put it together, that's how you can start building more steps to better yourself if you are on that journey. And for our listeners, like we said in the first episode, we are here growing
Mm-hmm.
ourselves so that hopefully we can give you a little bit more insight and a little bit more tools to help you grow in whatever journey and path you are on your life at this moment.
And it's all simple, really. It sounds complicated, but once you start
To research.
to research and taking that time, it'll come naturally to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's so much fun. We even play games on who do we think so and so person is. We even do it, with TV characters, movie actors, all
Yes.
that kind of stuff, and it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just us. I don't know, but it is. But yeah, that's gonna do it for the Too Deep. We hope you guys enjoyed. Please, take a look at that book of the Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. I haven't even started to read it, but just based off of the little test that Iana found and gave to me, I started to understand so much off of just that one, like 5 question test.
Yeah. I think it was like 15 questions.
Yeah,
12
yeah,
questions.
12 to
Not
15,
even.
and I understand so much about myself and
Yeah.
what makes me tick and what makes me go.
Mm-hmm.
Take that time. Take the time to research. There's so many other personality tests and guides that you can use, but don't just, use it for entertainment.
Yes.
Use it to understand, okay, why is it that I'm lacking in certain areas and what is it that I need to get knowing how I operate now,
Yes.
right?
It's crucial.
It's crucial. Are there any parting words that you'd like to say, Yana, before we head on out?
Just make sure you're taking the time to appreciate and meditate.
Mm.
Um, this is like a random tidbit of the day, but they said that you're supposed to, quote unquote, they said you're supposed to meditate 20 minutes per day.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're really busy, then you should meditate an hour a day.
Mm.
And if you don't know what to meditate on or how to meditate, start thinking about what you're grateful for and everything that you appreciate, and then start envisioning, like,
Yes.
what does your life look like in 2 years from now? What do you want your finances to look like in 2 years from now? Okay. And then from there, watch, your brain is going to go off on wherever um life leads you. And
Exactly.
then that's where you can start figuring out answers of like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to go, or this is what I shouldn't be doing, or and then if you're getting too lost in your thoughts and stuff, do a body scan and you can look that one up. So,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
you guys
Okay.
have homework now.
My tidbit for today would just be to enjoy where you are right now. Sometimes we beat ourselves up because, we thought we were going to be here at this age, or, we were going to have a certain amount of money, our relationships were going to be popping, our confidence was going to be higher, our fitness was going to be looking better. But be appreciative of where you are right now, right?
Yes.
Understand that it is a process. If you're out of shape right now, it's not because of what you did in 2 days. It's because of what you did over the years. And, you working on it isn't going to get rid of it in 2 weeks. It's going to take some time. So be appreciative that, yo, I put my running shoes on last week. Yo, I took the time to call my mom and say what's up and try to mend that relationship.
Yes.
I'm actively trying to cut back $1 here and there to, have a better budget and have better finances, or to learn a new skill, even though I'm getting frustrated. Appreciate where you are now. Take the time, like Yana said, to meditate. Go outside, go for a walk. Man, we're at the beach right now, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're just sitting out there, just watching the waves crash. and listening to the beautiful sounds and taking in the fresh air and really appreciating how far God has taken us. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Absorb the moment.
yeah, exactly. Follow us on the 2D Pod on Instagram. That's TOODEEPPOD. Again, that's on Instagram. Check us out on YouTube. We already have our first ever video of the podcast out there. Yeah, it's received, a couple of views. We'd love for you to join and be part of the community, so, let us know, how we've inspired you, moved you, helped you, informed you, or if you have suggestions on how we should be doing this thing, let us know, DM us, and comment, and,
leave us that review.
Yeah, come on, baby. We're waiting. But yeah, that's going to do it for us, and we'll see you next week.
Stay safe, everybody. Bye.
Bye.